Hello, hello. How's everybody in America today? How y'all doing? I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing fine. Look, we need to talk. I've been trying to just let things go and let things ride. There's a certain part of the population that's existing today, and they're walking around with half truths or lies, or I don't know. It's confusing. I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I'm going crazy sitting here listening to the idiocracy and all the dumbness that's going on. And I just want to talk to somebody. And I need to talk to y'all because we need to do better. We need to do better everywhere. We are Americans, born here. We don't know other countries. We don't know other ways. We don't know what's going on over there or how to live over there. We're so busy pointing fingers and looking at folks that we don't even realize that, the real divide in this country is between money and power. Those of us who don't have it and those who want it and thrive for it. We fight over color. We fight over sex. We fight over religion. We fight over anything and everything we possibly can. We have a government that tells us on a regular basis that they're in control of us, even though that's our government. We create that government. We make that government. We choose the people we put in there. They send to school, and it seems like they want to tell half truths nowadays. They don't want to take and tell the whole story, let people know exactly what is or isn't. I know that sounds stupid, but it is. We've got people walking around who don't even understand basic biology. Excuse me, boys and girls. Boys and girls. If it wasn't for that simple fact, boys and girls, we wouldn't exist. Think about it. Oh, we can do without men. We can do it. We can't do without. It takes two. We biological, baby. Man and a woman, boy and a girl. See, there needs to be a problem in order for there to be a savior. If there is no problem, then you don't need a savior. You look at somebody more based on their character and less based on what they can do to save you in your moment of desperation. That's what racism is. That's what this whole sex thing is. That's what all this is. It creates desperation so that you can drop a vote. It's hard to sit down and talk about what all is actually going on and what's actually happening. If you've watched the court processings, if you've watched what's been going on in this country, you have to ask yourself why. Donald Trump's a racist. I've been trying to figure out what point that I should take to get started. Let's talk about that man right there. That man right there, Donald Trump. First off is he's playing politician, but he ain't a politician. That's a businessman. And you folks running around scared right now because of the tariffs and all the tactics that he's doing. Don't play poker. You're going to lose your butt. We've had a lot of people make a lot of moves through the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And through those moves, a lot of people in other countries got benefits. Well, Donald Trump come along and he's kind of correcting all those extra benefits that everybody else got because we were being nice and never made no corrections. Letting tariffs roll one way and not the other way. I'm sorry, but North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, that destroyed this country. See, we got lower level jobs, Subway, Taco Bell. These are lower level jobs. That they're jobs made for people who want a little extra income, for people who are getting their first job, or people who are going to school and just need some part-time income. That's what they are. We had these mid-level jobs where, you know, you go work in a factory and build a car, whatever the hell you want to build, you build it. That's what you went and done. Well, all those mid-level jobs went away. So that meant that all you had was the high-end jobs, big business, big tech, or the low-end jobs, the part-time jobs. And we've been trying to survive like that for a long time, 20 years. Then they want to play with fuel prices and tell us, well, that don't matter. Bull. Because the very first thing they always do is play with fuel prices. And as soon as they do, the economy changes and manipulates and becomes something completely different. First thing Trump did was mess with fuel prices. And what happened? The economy felt its first break in 4 years. Donald Trump went and put tariffs. Let's talk about those tariffs just a little bit. See, before the big tariffs hit, you know, the ones he threw on the whole world, get it, penguins? Before those tariffs hit, he told Mexico and he told Canada, yo, y'all got to work with us. We got a fentanyl problem in this country. We got Americans falling over dead. We got kids dying on a daily basis. We need y'all to work with us. And they went, kind of hee-hawed around a little bit. So Trump said, okay, fine. If you want to help us, then we got to dump more money. So you're going to help us by paying more money to us. He put a fine on him because he was worried about American lives, your children, your family members. That's who he was worried about. But no, the news didn't play that up like that. The news played that up like Donald Trump's being a bad guy. He was. He was putting the strong arm down like it needed to be. He was standing up like a real American, on his 2 feet, looking people down. See, Mexico, they kind of got with the flow a little bit. But Canada, he hauled around and pretended like they was going to do something. Pretended like it was going to do something. So he hit them a little harder. See, all that tariff thing that started with Canada was over the fact that Americans were dying and they weren't willing to stop and fight and stop that stuff from coming across the border. They weren't willing to stop it being produced in their countries and shipped here. But no, the news didn't talk about it. They didn't tell you that. Well, then old Donald Trump, Donald Trump had a game plan all along. He knew what he was doing. He knew he needed to correct this big situation we had going on where they get to ship stuff here for free. In other words, they make it over there for $1.02, and they ship it over here and sell it for $1.25, and didn't pay anything extra. But you make it over here for $1.02 and ship it over there, and it sells for $3, $4, $5 because of the tariffs, because of the other way it worked around. So that means our market here in America only sells here in America because anywhere else we send it else in the world, it costs a fortune to buy it. When you go to the store, you're going to buy the cheaper, not the expensive. If you buy the expensive, you want it to be the best in the world. Too much of a game. Too much of everybody thinking they know and they got it going on and they understand. Well, Donald Trump showed up and he put the smack down. He said, you ain't going to ship it nowhere. That's why he tariffed everywhere. So they couldn't put boots anywhere and start shipping stuff. They all had to come to him and talk. And all this flopping around is because they are talking. It's called the art of the deal. But no, we got our nose up in it. Instead of us supporting him, we got news telling us that we need to be worried about him. Yeah, come on, folks. So much going on in the world right now. Donald Trump, the big racist. Oh, my goodness. The man supported the Reverend Jesse Jackson to run for president. The man took Michael Jackson in when Sony was trying to take his music. They destroyed his name and made him look like a child molester just so they could try to get their hands on the music. But Donald Trump took that man in and helped him fight for what was his. And there wasn't no stories of his children being fondled. And if you want to talk about it, those two boys in the beginning said that nothing happened to them. To turn around and say that something did, to now turn around decades later and say nothing did. See, the truth of the matter is that they wanted Michael Jackson's music and they needed to make him look bad. They needed to tear that man down. But Donald Trump was there taking care of him. The stories come out left and right about what Donald Trump's done to help folks in the black community. But none of that matters because he needs to be the bad guy. Remember, this was a Democrat, because you need to realize that. John F. Kennedy Jr., Democrat. Patel, Democrat. These were all Democrats at one point, now sitting in office making healthy decisions. And Democrats are screaming to the top of their lungs. Oh, the Democrats. Now, look, folks, understand this. There's a Democratic voter, and then there's a Democratic politician. Now, they're two different beasts, because the voter has a heart. They do. Think about it. They care. They care about what happens to gays, lesbians, blacks, women, anybody, everybody, all people. They care. Then there's the Democratic voter. They care. They care about your vote. And if you got a heartstring to tug on, well, that's how to get your vote. Understand this. The Democratic Party was born because of slavery. They wanted it. They wanted to keep it. They fought with everything they had to keep that slavery going. They fought so hard that even when slavery was ended in this country, they moved as far west as Texas so that they could get away, keep running their slaves until the news finally caught up. That's right. Back in the day, news took a while. It just wasn't there overnight. So it took a minute, sometimes months, years, for it to get to some of the deepest, darkest sections of countries. Yeah. Nowadays, it's there in a second. That's what got politicians. There in a second. Because it's there in a second. We know. We know what you say from one state to the next. See, Democrats lost the power when Lincoln freed the slaves. Democrats lost their power when women weren't allowed to be items, marrying 2 or 3 or 4 at a time. Yeah, a lot of reasons that war was fought. Hundreds of thousands of white folks put their lives on the line, put their blood on the battlefield so that black folks wouldn't be destroyed, beaten, enslaved, cut, and just we the people paid the price. We the people paid the price, but the politicians needed to play the game. So then we get to move into another whole new generation of abuse, destruction, destroying the mind. It's called Jim Crow. That's all that was abuse, control, and manipulation through fear, through whatever means possible to scare your opponent to not stand up. It wasn't about black or white. It was about who was going to vote. Because through the KKK and the Jim Crow eras, just as many white folks were murdered and killed as black folks. Because they needed that control. They needed that vote. They needed to make other folks around them realize what was going on. Those are the numbers they don't put out. Those are the facts they don't put out. Because they need you to think that it was just about you and only you. But it was never about you. It was about Democrats getting what Democrats wanted. Control, power, strength, the ability to tell you how to live your life. You know, we go through the whole Jim Crow region of life and humanity. Let's get right down to it. When Jim Crow was over, and that happened in what, 1965? Isn't it ironic that in 1965 that the Democratic Party started talking about how they were for the black people and how they were going to make everything better for them, and how these are the same people that beat them, cut them, tore them down, made them count beans, made them do anything they could to control and manipulate and dictate them for 200 years. And now all of a sudden they got you back. The only reason they had you back was because there's a piece of paper saying that you could go vote no matter what. They had to change their tactic. They had no other choice. So what they do? They turned everybody they could. It wasn't just the black folks. They turned everybody they could into children getting an allowance from their daddy, welfare, so anything they could throw at them, food stamps, anything they could throw at them, guaranteed wages, anything they could throw at them to make them think that, yeah, I'm going to get what I'm going to have the American dream. The American dream was being took away. The American dream is you being able to take what's inside of you and elevate it to the point that it becomes something that other folks want. But no, they took that away. They took that away. They shoved you into cities and told you, yeah. And then they started taking away. First thing they did was they took away your factories that was right there near you that gave you money and income into your community so it could grow. Those black communities that were growing before all this, the ones that were able to take care of themselves, yeah, they moved your business to the other side of wherever, said, yeah, we'll fund you. And they did for a few years. And then they said, well, we met our requirements and moved on. So now that tax dollar is gone. That means no more people were working in the community. They were traveling across town and putting their extra tax dollars across town in the stores and the businesses over there where they work. What they do next? They supported Big Box. Big Box was trying to find its way. Now, we had a lot of Big Box. I mean, did you ever check and see? There was Zehrs, there was Heels, there was TG Maxx, there was what the Walsworth came. I mean, they were just a ton of them. Now you got what? Walmart, Target. It's because they took over. They monopolized. And now everything that everybody wants to make or create has to compete with a cheap value of Walmart. And remember, everything you get in Walmart, it got a 5-year life expectancy before it's in the dump. And you're going to tell me you worry about the environment. Ain't nothing at Walmart lasts more than 5 years. And you worried about the environment. You know what? That goes to a dump. While some factory over there makes some more of the cheap products to send it over here so it'll fall apart so you can get it to the dump to buy some more of their cheap products. We got people walking around, boys and girls, don't even understand what a boy and a girl is. Dude, I know I'm probably getting into a circle and going crazy. That's what I say. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but there's just so much. It don't make no sense. We are a human race. It takes a male and a female to make more human race. Without a male and a female, there is no more human race. It comes to an end. There is no manipulating of the egg, no manipulating of the sperm. You ain't going to connect it to a frog, a rabbit, or anything else to make another human. You need a human and a human, a male and a female. A male and a male ain't going to get it done. A female and a female ain't going to get it done. No matter what you do, you need a male and a female. But everybody else is trying to take away from that and stand on top of that when that's the core essence of humanity. Y'all walk around and yeah, there's some folks out there who got some stuff going on with their sexual identity. I get that. Ain't no issue with that. It could be chromosomal. It could be hormonal. It could just be psychological due to conditioning from however they grew up. It could be a lot of things. But you have to go in and see doctors and talk to psychiatrists. You don't just go in and say, oh, you're a girl, so be a girl. You're a boy, be a boy. No, you sit down and help that child find out who they are and where they're going with their life. Because the moment you pick up an instrument and you start cutting on them, you change who they are and they quit working. There is no more boy and girl. They just, the end. You're going to live till you die, and that's the game over. You didn't do nothing. You didn't reproduce. You didn't because you lost it all because you let somebody talk you out of it before you knew who you were. Look, folks, boys and girls, we all, as a child, produce estrogen. At some point in time, when a man starts becoming what a man's going to be, he starts converting that estrogen to testosterone. And because he starts converting it to testosterone, certain things happen in his body. Certain bones extend out and heal over. Muscle gets a little bigger. Whereas with women, their bones continue to grow. That's why their hips widen. That's why because they're made for that. That's who they are. They don't change that. That's not something that you can will out with a court or with a law or with anything. And the moment a doctor goes and manipulates with it, then that means something in the body didn't get what it was supposed to get, and it's not going to work the way it was going to work, meaning that that person's going to have nothing but issues for the rest of their life. No matter what, they're going to pop pills. No matter what, they're going to have to do certain things to their body in order to maintain that sexual appearance that they're putting out there. See, a woman is a woman. A trans woman is that, a trans woman, but she wants to be a woman. That way she can hide, because that's what a trans woman wants to do. But then again, we've also got the whole concept of what a trans woman is confused and destroyed and manipulated. See, a trans woman is a man who feels like a woman completely and has no concept that they don't want anything on their body that says, hey, I'm a man. Where they go, they don't want people to recognize this. So they spend every ounce of their energy to be that person. And the funny thing is y'all got it all about sex. Because they feel like they're a woman inside doesn't mean that they gay. It just means that they feel like a woman inside. Their sexuality, that's a completely different thing. Who they want to lay with in bed is a completely different thing. See that LGBTQ plus, lesbians, gays, LG, gays, bis. That's all about who you want to go to bed with. You're only a lesbian because you're attracted to other women. You're only gay because you're attracted to people of the other sex. You're only bi because you don't care. Boy or girl, it's fun. Get it? But when you get into the the trans, it's not about who you want to lay with. It's about who they are inside. And y'all go and focus on the trans community, which is, like a 0.03% of the community. And by giving them rights, what do? Well, you open up the door to any pervert, different person. They're willing to cross any boundary to do anything to get that fix, that sexual fix. So they'll throw on a dress and some lipstick and call themselves trans to walk in the bathroom. When the trans is only in there to use the bathroom, the pervert's in there to do stupid stuff. We got all this confused. We are being misdirected. We're being pushed all over the place. And hopefully I'll sit down and chit chat with you folks and we'll see where this goes. I'd love to do this every day and chit chat. And, I don't even think it matters if it connects with anybody. It just would make me feel a little bit better. But we need to do better, folks. We need to look at things a little bit better. We got this whole slavery, racism, sexual men, women thing just distorted just for a vote. At this point, I'm kind of like out there. I'll see not a soul's even seen that. Probably ain't nobody listening to me, but that's all right. Hopefully I'll feel better. I'll get a tear in my eye later. Look, man, it's like this. We need to pick a subject. We need to work on it. We need to talk about it. We need to figure these things out and make them a little bit better. We need to get past all this craziness and understand that we are one group of people. We're Americans. We've always been Americans. We've been the leader, the creator, the designer, the builder, everything, the invention, the improvement of music, vehicles, and computers. And it's been the American drive. It's been the freedom that we have. And so many folks in this country's had it taken away. So many folks in this country's had it taken away because you bought into the lie that's been fed to you. And the lie that's been fed to you has been half-truths. Half-truths. Truths covered up with other stories. Off the top of my head, slavery. If black people owned slaves, it was because they were family members. That was true. But black people also owned slaves and were extremely abusive to them that weren't family members as well. Take Louisiana. Almost 40% of the slave owners there were black. They fought in for the rebels there, fought for the South. Lost my train of thought for a second. Half truth. You don't need to know the whole truth. You don't need to know. They want you to think that white folks started all the slavery and it's all about the white folks, these evil white folks. But yet we didn't get into the game until 1,000 years after the people in the Middle East, the Arabians, the Indians, and the Muslims created that slave trade, created that whole slave process that came out of Africa. That's right. All you Muslims that walk around over here that say white people are demons, remember the slave trade that came out of Africa? It was the Indians, the Muslims, and the Arabians that started that. They're the ones that set that whole thing up. They had a whole 1,000 years worth of organization before the 1619 project. Perspective. Yeah, it happened. And because it happened and the way it happened, so many bad things. There's been generational hatred. See, in other countries, the women were bred into the community and the men were, so there was no reproductive rights. So generational hatred didn't really exist. But here in America, greed overwhelmed them, and they chose, instead of castrating or killing or breeding out, to sustain their stock in order to better themselves. But all they really did was create generational hatred. Year after year after year after year after year. So how can you not expect the black community to be conditioned for hatred, for anger? I mean, they were ripped out of their country, drug over here, abused, watched their children abused, watched their grandchildren abused if they made it that long. What do you expect them to pass on to their children? Love, trust. But none of that was taken for granted. When it was removed and lifted and the black community said, yay, 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 we got it. No. The Democrats fell on top of them and said, no, you don't. You still gonna do what we want you to do. Black folks pretty resourceful. Tight with the family at that time. So they fell into their own. They started building their own community, created their own environment. And they were doing a damn good job. Then everybody got to stand on their own 2 feet on equal grounds. The Democrats didn't know what to do. Plain and simple, folks. They didn't know what to do. They were scared. They had to make some quick adjustments. Free money, free food, free anything they could because, well, black folks felt like they deserved it. They didn't realize they were being conned. I talked earlier about how the businesses were took out of the communities, how the factories were took out of the communities. And now those communities sit there and they expect those taxes to go into the schools, but it's just from what little bit of businesses they have in the area and their residential taxes. Everything else got moved somewhere else. You ever noticed some of the cities, some of these inner cities and stuff, they don't exist no more, but you drive about 2 miles away from that inner city, what do you see? Big box central. It's because the community's gone. The family's gone. The family turned. I grew up in a home when the house was sold, nobody knew where the key was. Key had been gone for years. Today, people lock up their house. People lock up the rooms in their house. People lock up stuff in that locked room in their house because they don't even trust their own family anymore. Possessions and all this crap that we have here in America means more than anything else, means more than family, means more than connected, means more than standing out. Why? because we went to school and we learned to judge one person. Are you good at math? Are you good at writing? Can you sing? Can you draw? What are you good at? But you're not as good as me. You're not as good as that person. You failed. You're set back. You don't stand up. You don't measure up. You're worthless. You got to try harder. You don't meet the standard requirement of everybody in this country. You did it over here, but you didn't do it over here. So where you did over here, we don't worry about that. We just worry about what you can't do. We stopped letting children be who they are and started being what we wanted them to be. A child should only be better today than they were yesterday. They shouldn't be compared to Mike, Jim, Mary, Mike, whoever else is around them. They should only be compared to themselves. And when they go onto the court, when they go into the game and they're playing in the competition, now you're going to judge that child. That child needs to be judging whether he's capable or what has the want or desire to be in that position. You don't just cuddle them and make them feel good so they'll think, oh, well, I can do this, to find out later down the road that they can't, get smacked in the face and feel butthurt because of it. And we wonder why they're crying today. You got women out here running around saying, we can't find men. But every man out here is taught, if you touch a woman, if you get near a woman, if you communicate with a woman the wrong way, she's going to get you for sexual harassment, sexual assault, the big R word. In the military, we were taught that if a third party hears it and don't likes it and just feels like it, that they can have you took after. Men are afraid to approach because they're afraid of the outcome. They're afraid of what might happen to them if they actually do. If they actually step up and take a chance. And then women run around thinking everybody out there makes a ton of money. Look, but relationships is two people coming together that love each other, care about each other, and want to work together to create something. It's not one person carrying the other person, because when that happens, there's a lot of resentments down the road. If you can't put your part in, if you can't carry your load, then the relationship is going to fall apart. Because somebody's getting everything they need and somebody's getting nothing they need. Somebody's heart's getting tore apart while the other one doesn't care. We want to look at every situation and take one point of view. Men are abusive to women. Women are abusive to men. It's a two-way street. When we say abuse, there's lots of levels of abuse. What about the man that's got all the drive in his heart and all the want in his heart and the desire in his heart? What about that man that goes out and works and busts his ass and come home and cleans and does what he wants, but the woman won't get up and work, the woman won't get up and clean, the woman won't get up and do nothing. She just sits there. And then she starts drinking on top of it. Is that fair? Isn't that abuse? Isn't that putting somebody in a situation that they can't get out of, other than to have to drop everything and walk completely away from everything they've worked so hard for? It's because everything's a two-sided street, but if you can change the point of view for one side and one side only, then we don't have to talk about the subject. Only one side matters. I say it's been hard trying to figure out what I want to say, and tomorrow I'll probably be a little bit more clear on my subjects, because I'm kind of all over the place today. And it's all cool. It's all great. I hope folks can hear me. I hope the sound looks like there's volume. I'm just tired, man. I see everything going on here. The Johnny Depp trial. I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm saying, are my courts that stupid? I mean, common sense. Those pictures were the same picture. The hair never moved, but the court accepted it. Hair. You get up and move anywhere, and these little frizzly pieces, they're going to change. The wind, just the movement of walking. But no, those little frizzly pieces were the exact same frizzly pieces in the exact same place, no movement. But it was a completely different picture taken at two different times in life. Yeah. Look, I'll go with this, because, we really need to be aware of what's going on. We need to really understand what's happening in the lies that's being put to us, and where people are applying their opinion versus this is the news and, well, that's it. Because anything could possibly happen, with stuff. And I'm being cryptic. not so much cryptic, it's delusional. Donald Trump, court cases, all these court cases, and everybody, a lot of folks want to be all happy about it and think, yeah, we got this understood. E. Jean Carroll. Supposedly he fondled her in a department store in New York. Somewhere in late 95, early 96. That's 6 months time spread. That was her case. That is the size of it. There was no way that Trump could sit and validate where he was every single day for 6 months in 1995 and 1996. There's no way to validate what he did or didn't do. It was simply, she said, he said. But for yet some reason, a jury of his peers found him guilty of leaving Trump Tower, walking to a department store, going into nobody recognizing him, nobody trumping, no big fanfare, no normal Donald Trump out the door, everybody saying hi. Think about it, folks. Would any of you want to have to go to court with just that vague? But yet he has to sit and endure that and deal with it. This woman who clearly has issues. There's no doubt about it. You think I'm afraid to say she has issues? She thinks rape is fun. She thinks her cat should name. Yeah, come on, folks. There's destruction of character. It doesn't matter that if it's true or not. It was said so that folks would believe it. And then folks buy into it. Stormy Daniels. That whole case. Y'all do realize that Make America Great Again, and Stormy Daniels decided to make a porn video, Make America Horny Again, and even tried to get Donald Trump to be a part of it. And then when he wasn't, she went ahead and did it, so he got her for defamation. She goes to court owing him thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and is not supposed to be a hostile witness, not supposed to say bad things. Really. And then the lawyer. Folks, let me tell you something. Every one of y'all who's had somebody do some paperwork for you, and you had this, and they had to sign that they did it for you, and then you signed after them. According to what happened to Donald Trump, you're liable for every mistake that accountant or that lawyer made. You're liable, not the accountant, not the lawyer, you. Isn't that ironic? Because that's what happened. That's the point of the fact. Nothing else matters. A dude done some stuff behind his back. He didn't know it, and now Donald Trump has to pay the consequences for his dastardly deeds. You hire an accountant because you don't know accounting. You hire an accountant because you need the assistance with it because you don't know the fine arts and details. They're the ones that's why they're signing that they filled it out. And if there's any phallus, that they're going to be looked at. What other case we want to talk about just for a brief moment here? Everybody wants to talk about all these cases with Donald Trump and all these bad things he did and everything. Let's talk about Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, you know that, $18 million, $25 million little hut he's got down there. Ain't nothing to it. It ain't like it's a landmark. It ain't like some famous folks didn't own it. It ain't like it. There's some chandeliers hanging in that circuit. It's probably close to $15 million. Donald Trump sitting at home, cheesing. A bank somewhere said, we need some money. Go find us some big business. So guy says, calls up Donald Trump, says, hey, Donald, we want to lend some money. You want to build something? Donald says, I got a project. Let's do it. So he pulls out some collateral. He sets all this stuff up. He uses Mar-a-Lago. Banks come in. Everybody does their little P's and Q's. It don't happen because that's the way it happens. He didn't put some stuff on the dotted line and everybody said, okay. A bank went and looked at it and said, yeah, it's worth it. If you default, we think we can get our money back from this. You know what? He paid it back in full with interest, like he said he was going to. But something about that was wrong. Something about that just wasn't right. And Letitia James, her whole thing was as well that Mar-a-Lago wasn't valued what it was valued worth. And then they want to sit in court and say it was valued worth $25 million. When a 2-acre lot sitting right next to it is worth $20 million. And it ain't nothing on the lot, folks. It's an empty lot. Now she's all up in the air with a whole bunch of real fraud. She's the one playing the game and the scam. We'll see how that plays out. We'll let that one go ahead and roll. But let me tell you what, if you line to get cheaper rates and cheaper insurance rates and cheaper mortgage rates, that's fraud. That's real fraud. He didn't lie to get a cheaper insurance rate. He didn't lie he told somebody what he thought the value of his property was. They went and looked and said, yep, we think we can get that if you don't pay your part. And they said, okay. He ain't lied to the government. He ain't put Mar-a-Lago's only got 3 rooms in it on his mortgage. He didn't say that Mar-a-Lago's only 6 acres. He told the truth on all that stuff. He didn't take anything from anybody. This whole document scandal thing. Dude, Joe got him sitting beside his vet in a garage. For real, who knows how long? Who knows what was in that box? Who knows who got what file that was in that box? We know what was there. But we don't know what used to be there. So here's the problem. This is what you need to think about because even ABC, NBC, and CBS kept this. From the moment Donald Trump left the White House, we watched those documents get loaded up and watch the news show us drive them to Mar-a-Lago. Then what we hear on the news every night, they're getting in to see these documents, and they don't like the way these documents are being stored, and these documents need to be locked up, and we verified this, and we verified that, knowing all the time where those documents were, knowing all the time what those documents were doing. Then all of a sudden, they come and they get all those documents, and they raid Mar-a-Lago, and they looking through Melania's panties, perverts. They carrying documents and cover sheets and spreadsheets in and putting them down. Verifying that they did it. We got to make it look the same, baby. And then what? If there was so much incriminating evidence in them documents, if there was such a bad line of stuff in those documents, where's it at? Where'd it go? Where's the proof? We had the noise. Now let's see the hardware. We heard the song. But you ain't giving us nothing to dance with. That's the truth. That's the reality. That's what's going on. One lie after another, never backing it up, putting some little bull crap on, we told a mistake. No. Y'all been lying. We told you before Joe Biden even ran for president that he wasn't worth being president and he was getting dementia. Oh, no, he's okay. Man, by the time he was through, nobody even wanted to see him. They tucked him away. They let him out after they get him jacked up with enough meds that he might be able to run around for 15, 20 minutes and communicate. Then they tuck him away again. Y'all do realize that Joe Biden is one of the most racist individuals that ever existed. His mentor was a grand wizard of the KKK. His mentor was a grand wizard of the KKK. We got him standing up and saying so many things detrimental to the black community. Oh, no, he's the one. He's the one that cares. Y'all do realize that he tried to run for president back in the 80s and he got busted. You know what he got busted for? Lying about his credentials. He's used other people's speeches over and over and over and pretend like they was his. The only bill he ever signed locked the black community up one after another for decades over the most penny-aniest thing. But yet this guy made it to be president of the United States. This guy had people voting for him. We got, what is it, Kamala Harris and what is her name? Oh, The View. I can't remember her dang name now all of a sudden. Just blowing my mind. Y'all know who I'm talking about. These women going out and saying that they're fighting for the black community. Kamala saying she's a black woman when her heritage is not black. It's Irish and Indian. There's no black in her. And see, the problem is she's telling you she's fighting for, this is a slave owner's child telling the children of the slaves how to still live their life. And what's her name on The View? She's the same way. Sunny Hostin. This is a child of slave owners telling the children of slaves how to live their life instead of just letting them live their life. Instead of standing up and fighting for them, they're sitting and telling them how bad their life is. Dude, you can be anything you want in this country. You need an example, you just go look. It ain't about the color of your skin. It ain't about your sexual identity. It's about what's in here, what comes out of here, and how you treat people. That's what matters, because you treat people good, people will treat you back good. You do right for people, people will do right for you. You screw up, people ain't going to want you around. They just going to push you away. They ain't even going to care. The dream has been taken away. The dream has been taken away through all of the bull crap and all of the political grandstanding to get people's votes. Let's be honest. Where you live is the most important political point in your life, because those are the people who have the most direct effect to what's going on in your life. It ain't the president. It's your locals. And when you get down to your locals, you'll find out your locals are your neighbors. They look like you, they act like you, and they talk like you. Now, what you got to learn to do is to see if that person is doing good, if the money's going up, if things is being looked after, or if that people's doing bad. Is the money going down? Is things not getting fixed in the community? Is that person standing up and fighting, or is that person blaming it on the next level? Yeah, Donald Trump affects your life. He really does. In the grocery store, gas pumps. Don't let me talk to the president, no. But see, they got you screwed up on that too. J6. Oh, Lord, J6. Oh, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. The only reason they get away with that is because you don't understand how it works. Donald Trump is not responsible for that building. He's not responsible for the House. He's not responsible for the Senate. They're responsible for themselves. Speaker of the House, number 3 in charge. President goes, vice president goes, Speaker of the House becomes president. She is leader. That person is leader of that part of our judicial system. They are an equal to the president in certain standards. President is only allowed there when he's invited there. Do you get it? That's not his building. Those are not his responsibilities. They create the laws. He does all the stuff with the foreign people. And now we got all these little judges on any level taking shots at the president and trying to dictate how he's running our country. They ain't got no right. They should have to go through folks that can get to the Supreme Court. The only person that's equal to the president of the United States would be those in the House and would be the Speaker of the House, based on the fact that the House and the Senate are both behind them. And then whoever the lead judge is, and that's it. Those judges, him and them. Those are his equals. Those are his peers. Everybody else ain't. Some judge, any judge on any corner at any level taking and stopping national business, international business, makes no sense. Look, I did good. I ran it for almost a whole hour, and I actually feel better. Probably said nothing to nobody, and nobody will ever hear it. And I'm going to get back on here and rant again, but tomorrow I'm going to try to make it a little bit more focused, a little less all over the place. You guys got me all screwed up, man. I want to communicate and I want to talk, but we don't know what a boy and a girl is. We think we can get a frog to convert its sperm to make a baby human. We got a problem with racism that needs to be dealt with and resolved. We got folks that are afraid to talk about it. We got folks that are afraid to stand up. Truths and lies have been spread across the board to the point nobody knows what's what. We got a president that's willing and dealing and doing things the right way. He's being a businessman. He's doing, and we got people jumping around and scared because of every move he makes. Them stocks out there, they only apply to a small percentage of the community. And that small percentage of the community that it does apply to, a big percentage of them know that, well, if we don't sell off, everything will stay flat and it'll go back to right. There was never no big fall. That was used to pull your strings, manipulate you, make you think that things are going bad. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. Here's the only thing you need to pay attention to. Where's my gas prices? Where's my grocery prices? How's the value on my home? What's the prices of my insurance? What's going on around me? Because every time the government gets in the middle of it, all it does is go to hell in the handbasket and need proof. Department of Education. They got in the middle of it and destroyed the schools. Everybody quit being looked at for who they were and started being looking at for what they could or couldn't do. That was when the judgment began. Y'all want to support the Board of Education, the Department of Education. Ain't never done nothing. Listen to them. Well, we don't supply money. Well, they don't supply nothing, but yet they were there. What did they supply? What they did supply, somebody else can give. Just another reason to take tax dollars out of your pocket. They tell you the economy is going to go to hell in a handbasket because of what Donald Trump's doing. Let me talk to you, folks. Let me tell you what's going on. See, this is across the board, no matter whether you're poor, no matter whether you're rich. When the economy starts getting rough, when sales start going down, you hold back on your money. You put money back. Rich do it because they got a lot of reasons to do it. Bonds and securities and deposit. They got so many reasons, and they pull back. You do it. You pull back. You quit buying certain groceries. You quit buying those little extras. You quit buying those little treats that make you feel special. You quit going out. You quit driving so many places. You go see your family one day less a week because you need to save the gas. But see, now you have a little extra money in your pocket. You're going to feel a little safer because the taxes are going to let up. Things are pulling back a little bit on the prices. And because you got more money, you're going to spend more money. And when you spend more money, you pay more taxes. And when you pay more taxes, hey, the government benefits. That's how Florida works. That's how Florida gets away with what they do. Because they make enough money off the sales of all the stuff they sell down there to all the tourists that it pays for car taxes and all the bullcrap income taxes and stuff. They don't have to put those on people because it's all paid through sales of merchandise, through your hard work, not out your pocket, not out your earned wages, but through the slave effort that you put in to sell the stuff that's out there. We thrive ourselves to work for other people, to be there for them and make them money. And we don't put nothing in our pocket. But when we do put something in our pocket, we spend. And that's what Trump's setting up. He's freeing money up in your pocket. And when he frees that money up in your pocket, you're going to go buy more stuff. And when you buy more stuff, you're going to pay more taxes. And when you pay more taxes, we're going to balance our budget. Then you don't have to pay all this crap, this income tax that wasn't even supposed to be here. A remnants of World War II that they got their hands on some cash and never let go of it. It was only supposed to be here for a moment. But no, they got their hands on all that cash and said, ooh, we got a cash cow. We can't let go of this one. Keep that money flowing. It's all been designed. Not based on the color of your skin, not based on your sexuality. It's all been designed on where you stand on the platform of wealth and power. In the end, we take none of it with us. We take maybe what's here. And sometimes I hope I don't take that with me because there's a lot of pain, a lot of heartache up here. Know this. No matter who you are out there, no matter who you identify as, no matter what you feel like, no matter what you do, you're an American. That matters. Because here we can say what we need to say. Here we can express ourselves the way we want to express ourselves. Like I said, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to try and do an hour every day. Don't know if anybody will ever listen. Really don't care because it feels pretty good just to talk chat for a little bit. Look, much love, much peace. And, tomorrow maybe I'll pick a subject and we'll just try to stay on focus for 1 hour on the subject because we really need to talk about a few things. A few of these things that's just been going on a little too long, throughout humanity, throughout history. It's time we grew beyond. It's time we become more than the animal instinct that we exist. And for those who don't know, that's Ember. That's Trixie. Over there's baby girl. I have a house full of pups. They're my babes. They're my pack. They're my peace of mind. They're my heart and soul. You guys, keep doing the beautiful things, the music, the sports, the thing. Keep being the people you are in America. Keep expressing yourself. Keep pushing the limits. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see the impossible achieved. Don't let things hold you down. Quit letting people put you in a place to where you can't thrive to be you. You are what you make yourself, not what somebody tells you you are. Much love, much peace. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and hopefully somebody will listen in the future. If not, hey, still much love, much peace. It's been wonderful. Now, how do I end this?